Students that go on these service learning trips are not from one specific college. We actually work with different colleges. Our organization is not exclusive to any one college. So we have a lot of different students that apply. And so how we accommodate that when we have students that are in a different place that can't maybe come to our pre-trip planning, but we want them to be a part of that pre-trip planning, is we actually Skype them in, FaceTime, whatever we can do so that they can actually be a part of that meeting. Then, we get ready and we pack up on a plane and we go down to Belize. And everybody comes in and still looking like they are a deer in a headlight and don't know what's going on, and that's the way we like them to look when we get there. Or after the students have gotten kind of used to their digs, we go and do an excursion. We went on a jungle boat tour this last time, and we ended up at the Mayan ruins, Lamanai.
It's a long walk up to the top of those things, the temples, but it was beautiful, and it was so cool to see and how those structures are still there, and there's so many more that we don't even know about.
So they get to see the beauty of the country, of where they'll be staying for the next 10 days. We have formed friendships and bonds with our particular vendors, and we have Natalie, who is our amazing diving person that takes us out to Shark Ray Alley, and we pet the sharks and the stingrays, which is, I always tell the students that it's not mandatory but highly encouraged, and that I have come back from every trip, so will they.
I've been on a snorkeling trip before, but never where the guide swam with you through the water and was like, hey, look at that, that's what that is. And it was really cool to experience, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then feeding the tarpon was terrifying.
And then we'll go out to Key Calker and have lunch. It's a little island off the coast of Belize, and we'll just kind of sit. I'll let the students go shop a little bit, get some t-shirts and stuff like that. And then the following day, we start working. Ardenti Global Service Learning is an organization that really wants to immerse students into different cultures, different situations, and really show them the benefits of fair trade learning.
There, good job, teamwork, high five. High five. All right, full print spell cookie.
And what I mean by that is every person in the transaction gets benefit from what they are experiencing. So students that are going on any of our trips or staying here local, working within the community, are experiencing what it feels like to be a part of that community. But also our community partners are experiencing new cultures coming into their area. They're also experiencing working together with different personalities, and it's a mutually beneficial experience for all parties involved. So the Unity School is near and dear to my heart. It's kind of my family now. They are a school that's in a very impoverished district of the city. The Unity School was created as a result of this community just kind of blossoming and going up, and it was built on migrants coming to the area from Guatemala. There were some, people that were in the outer districts of Belize that came into the city looking for work, and that's where the Unity School came in to play, where the Presbyterian Church came down and put the Unity School in this community so that these community kids would have a school to be able to walk to and be able to be a part of. We put them in the classroom, we let them assist the teachers. That gives the teachers in the classroom the much needed one-on-one time with those students that are struggling with literacy. It's extremely appreciated and very beneficial to those younger students as well, because they don't get that one-on-one time as often as they should.
They're expected to put in more time almost and do more with the things that they do have than teachers other places are expected to do with all the things that they have. I mean, in the classroom I was in, they would make a poster with a paper and reuse the same paper for 5 different activities that they were having to do that day and the next day. And you don't see that here because we have tablets and we have smart boards and whatever else you need in a classroom. He drives like 2 hours there and 2 hours home every day to be with those kids. And he's the only male that's in the building. Everyone else is female. So that's another thing that you notice. There's not a lot of male involvement with the children.
I can remember the first day I came in, there was half of the class was absent. And I asked the class where the rest of the students are. Oh, they just don't won't come to school. And I asked if they're sick. No, they don't want to come. They come when they feel like. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That was new for me. But then as the months or the weeks came by, up to now, I would say there is a 99% of students attending school. The only time they would miss is when they really have an emergency or they're sick. Otherwise, they're in class.
Talking with the teachers, they all love those kids and they would do anything for them, and that's why they're willing to drive hours to come to work to be with them and to teach them.
So both the communities that we work with and the students that we work with are getting a mutually beneficial transaction, and that's what Ardenti aims to do. We want to make sure that we're not just going on a trip and seeing the sights. We are literally putting students into actually out of their comfort zones, and we make sure that the community that we're working in gets in there, rolls up their sleeves with our students, and our students actually get into those communities and roll up their sleeves, and they become a cohesive unit wherein everybody walks away having learned something.
Who's your favorite teacher? Miss me. Hey. What do you like about Camp Toucan?
I like how I play chess. I like how I play on the computer. And we play baby shark, baby shark, mommy shark, mommy shark.
So we tailor our service learning trips to the students that are going with us. For instance, we have film students that go with us, and when we have film students that go with us, I'll call up the Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Education and say, hey, I need to put my film students in a situation where they're going to see Belize from their perspective and what their career field is going to be, and so she puts us on the news. So we get on the news and they're able to experience what that looks like in a different country. I've also had nursing students who will come to Belize, and although we're working in the schools or we're doing an after-school program or a summer program, we'll take them to the hospital and they'll get to see how the hospital works. If you're a history major, you've got it all with me, because we're going to go to all the historical places. Any discipline is always welcome because we tailor our trips to include every discipline. Camp Toucan, actually, when we first started Ardenti, this was our very first startup project, and we gathered a group of students at University of North Georgia to help us come up with the model that Camp Toucan was going to look like. When we asked these students what they thought the name should be, we came up with Camp Toucan, and then I challenged them. I said, now tell me what Toucan stands for. And so we had one very bright student say, what if it was Teaching Outstanding Urban Children Awareness Now? And I thought, okay, sounds great. Our model at Camp Toucan is the kids come every single day after school, and they're able to be kids for a minute. And that's one of the biggest things to me, is they have so many stressors in their life that I want them to be able to come and just be a kid. Every time we come, they send us the most in-need students. So these are usually typically non-readers or emerging readers. When they come, we have 4 modules. Our modules are creative and healthy snack making. We do computer literacy lab, where they're actually able to get 45 minutes on a computer, which is something they never see. So that's very beneficial to them as well. They get a literacy program that they work through. We also do art, and through art we also incorporate literacy, and then we do team building skills, which are showing them that they can rely on their peers.
I love because we do painting, we go and eat, and Miss Jennifer gives us nice.
All right, let's go back upstairs. What's different about Camp Toucan being here when they're not here?
It's different because I do not know where to go when they're not here.
Walking through that gate every time we go, walking through the gate of the school, and just that first initial when we pull in and we're walking through the gate, and all you hear is children screaming, Miss Jennifer, Miss Jennifer, and they know that for a week they're gonna experience joy and and be able to be a kid for a minute. It's impactful. The impact that it has had on that community is they've learned to trust the students that come. These kids are the most loving. They have no problem showing affection, and they just want to know that somebody's there, that somebody's gonna be there, and that somebody's gonna help them have their voice. And I think that's what we're doing there. I think that's the impact we're having right now. What that looks like in the future, I don't know, but the impact that we're having right now is that we're building trust in a community that may have not had the most trust. Water Warrior Project is a project that I started 2.5 years ago when I emerged on the scene and saw that these children did not have constant access to water.
The fact that their access to clean water has to be paid for is extremely disheartening, because a lot of times there is not the money there to actually purchase the water. We had one instance where one of the kids lost their shilling, which is equivalent to a quarter in the US, and they lost their shilling and was crying hysterically because they weren't going to be able to buy a pouch of water. So one of our students obviously took out her quarter and said, go get a pouch of water, but that's the kind of issues that they deal with. So the access to clean water is extremely limited in that school. So as a result, a lot of the students wanted to do something to help that.
I've never been in a situation where there were children literally begging me for water to drink. And that was just heartbreaking. And obviously I didn't have enough in my one water bottle to give 60 different children. So now we're going to be able to put the big container, like the 5-gallon buckets, she's going to put them in the school and in the Gateway Center. Yeah, the big drums of water. That's not through the water system that they have. It's separate clean containers of water.
So what we did was we did fundraisers until we got enough money to actually put a clean water drinking fountain at the Unity School, which we'll be providing either in March or in July of this year. Basically, the Ministry of Education told us that they had a need, and the need was for enhanced literacy skills, or us enhancing what they're learning in the classroom. And so we thought, what better way to do that than to give them a little outlet in the afternoons, let them come to the Gateway Center and have fun, but while they're having fun, we could incorporate literacy into everything that we were doing. We partner with the teachers at the Unity School, and we asked them to give us the most literacy deficient students that they have, so that we can help them progress their literacy skills. During the program, what they get is they get about 45 minutes on a computer where they get to progress their literacy skills. That's very essential to them because they don't ever see a computer in the day. So when they come to the Gateway Center, they have access to these computers. We put them on a program, we test them, and the particular set of students that we've been following, we've been testing every time. So we can see where their literacy is either progressing or not progressing. And then after they leave the computer room, they will go to art. For instance, if they're doing like a wreath for Christmas, ornament for they're going to take home, they'll get little Scrabble letters with that wreath, and they'll have to spell out words so that they can actually see what they're doing and put the words together and put it together on a wreath. And whatever module they go to, they're getting literacy incorporated. So if they're doing creative snack, where we're showing them how to make creative snacks that they can go and get with their mom in the market, then they have to spell the ingredients. If they're doing team sports, then they're having to do spelling as they're doing this team sports. Each thing incorporates some form of literacy so that they're just progressing those literacy skills throughout the program. Unfortunately, sometimes we work with limited resources, even at the Gateway Center that has more updated resources. Just this last time we were in Belize, we had to improvise because the computers, none of them were working. So the need for resources that we can put in there to sustain this program, and the need for people. It's extremely important to this community that we keep our promises and that we always come back. And that's my main priority, is that we're always there. Honestly, without literacy skills, you have no voice in your community, you have no voice in your government. So we want everybody to be literate and able to have a voice in their community. So at the end of our program, one thing that the children always know that is always going to happen every single time we come is they know that if they come to the program every single day, at the end of the week or the end of 2 weeks, however long we're there, we're going to have a water fight. And so that's kind of how we keep them, coming back for more. And I'm going to tell you, they come to that water fight and they have a blast. It does become kind of a sad event when they're leaving, but with the kids, what they do is they have a big presentation at the Unity School. I always like to make that, although I'm putting it on this video, I always like to make that a surprise because it's so emotional and I would love to watch it. I mean, that's the best part of it for me, is watching that unfold and watching all the undergrads, kind of figure out their place in this whole thing.
Came down the line of us and hugged every single one of us, and some of them were crying and handing us all these little cards that they had made us. But it was like the most precious thing I had ever experienced in my life, I think. Just standing there trying not to get emotional while they're all coming, just wanting to love on you. They're so willing to give and so willing to love on you. And it's funny because that's what we went there to do, and it's like we get it back 100% and maybe even a little bit more. I think one of the main things, it's just they're so full of joy, and I feel like when we're there and it gives them something else to focus on rather than whatever it is that's going on in their lives. And maybe they don't have awful situations at home, but I would guarantee that some of them do.
Jonathan and I, this past trip, we would go and get the kids from the school and we would walk through the neighborhood and bring them down to the Gateway Center. Some of these homes don't have electricity. Most of them don't have running water. And walking through this neighborhood, you see why Camp Toucan is so important to them. It gives them a place to come. It gives them a place to forget about their stressors, and to know that they can come to Camp Toucan, even if it's just for 2.5 hours, and kind of chill and sit back and relax and play games and smile and laugh and goof off and be kids. That's why I think it's so impactful.
When we do our reflection at night, we start at a certain place, and you can tell that the students are kind of trying to understand and process what they're seeing, especially in Belize.
I have been to other countries and experienced things similar to this, but I've never been in a classroom in a school setting seeing what it's actually like for kids other places to get an education and what the difference is. So that was awesome to be able to experience.
Something that really got me yesterday about Cultural Day is like they didn't separate the kids into like the different groups of like who is in like what like culture. They kind of just mix everybody together. And whenever they were doing the presentations and the dances and stuff, like there weren't just the like Creole kids over there dancing with the drummers. Like there were like little Hispanic kids or little mestizo kids. I think that that's something that's just so drastically different than you would find in the United States.
One thing that's stuck out to my mind and probably will continue after I leave here, we were doing crafts. I was helping Sierra with crafts, and they were writing on the leaves what they're thankful for. And one little girl, I can't remember what group she was in. I think it was the first or the second rotation, so she was younger.
3 or 4.
And she wrote on her little leaf that she's thankful that her mother and her father are alive. No, she's so that was a little heartbreaking. But it's also cool to see that like that's what she's writing down, but then she looks up at me and talks to me and she has a smile on her face and she's happy. And these kids here don't have what kids grow up with at home, but they're still some of the happiest kids I've ever seen in my life.
She asked me what else, and I looked at what she had, and it said water, food, clothes, God, family, friends, school, and she had one left, and she looked at me and she said, what else? And I really had to sit there and, you know, I wanted to give her an example, and I started thinking of the things that I'm thankful for, and it's like, no, they don't have that. They don't have that. It's like almost like she ran out of things to be thankful for.
They'll come is this correct, or like, is this right? And so like they just like being there, just having the attention. So like, but that's something like I always loved about these kids because it makes you feel, I don't know how to say it, like just showing them that extra love. Like they see you helping them and they want to be part of that too. Like everybody would just jump up like, I'm next. Like they'd fight to see who was next to get their little smiley face or like their work check. And so like it was really cool. Like it just felt like being at work, another day at work. But I loved it.
Especially as a mom with a kid their age. Like I was comparing them to Jackson and the classroom that he's in, and you know, all the stuff that he has, and these little kids, don't have like 1/10 of what he has. And they're just smiling up and just so happy that who's this silly American lady that keeps making faces and telling us to put our hands up.
And these kids, I mean, I come in and they just run up and I'm like, hey guys! I mean, I got kids climbing me, and you know, that, I love to see that. I love to see compassion out of areas where there's a lot of suffering, and that's what I felt like I saw.
If you have any interest whatsoever, like even the tiniest interest in doing something like this, do it. Like, don't question it, don't hesitate, just go. If you're willing to expose yourself to those kinds of hard things that we don't see, we see poverty, but not like there in Belize. You can't take yourself away from it afterwards. You can't detach yourself and say, oh, well, that stinks for them, but I'm just going to keep on doing what I've been doing. And even if it's not everything you expected, I promise there's something to be gained from it.
If you want to take a vacation, take a vacation. If you want to immerse yourself in a cultural experience like nothing you've ever experienced before, and you want to come back feeling like you have given every single part of yourself, Ardenti is where you need to be. Ardenti Global Service Learning. Go passionately.